chaos over at Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's start with this one. Elon having some serious trouble here. Let's put it up there on the screen. He says, quote, Twitter has had massive drop in revenue due to activist groups pressuring advertisers, even though nothing has changed with content moderation, and we did everything that we could to appease the activists. Extremely messed up. They are trying to destroy free speech in America. Well, as we have said from day one, whenever you are an advertiser-reliant business, it is going to be tremendously a big problem because many of those folks are ruled by an ideology, or at the very least, like, they don't want to have to deal with a bad headline.
They're not ruled by an ideology other than money. And they're worried about, like, yeah, he says, oh, content moderation hasn't changed, but then he has made some specific content moderation. He's just totally erratic and all over the place.
That's actually what I want to get to.
We're just going to wait this thing out.
He did himself no favors with that on those advertisers thing by tweeting the Paul Pelosi story out. That's actually, I think that might actually be the single most impactful thing
that
he has done as owner, because they're like, I can't deal with this. Like, if you're going to tweet out this stuff, and look, I think even now, given all this NBC stuff, yeah, we should ask questions. But you, and I would never bring that to air, you know, when the job that you and I do.
Right.
Without verification, we can ask questions. Asking questions is fine. But by linking to that, he actually showed, you know, being so quick on the draw that the advertisers who are already on the fence are like, I'm just not going to go with this. And you have a bunch of people who are already being pressured by the NAACP and all these other fake groups, which are like, oh, we're going to see an explosion of X or Y or whatever word that you want to see. And listen, I mean, that's why I wouldn't say that it's not just money, Krystal. I think that they are, given the fact that Twitter ads are mostly fake anyway, and they've never been proven to be all that effective, and it was all part of like vanity budgeting, that to be pressured, it costs them nothing to actually yield to the activist
Well,
campaign.
that's it. There's a million places you can advertise.
Right.
Why are you going to run the risk of having your advertisement next to like someone saying the N-word and like saying Paul Pelosi got murdered by his gay lover or whatever?
Right.
Like, you're just not going to take that risk. And so, you know, before this all deal closed and everything, Elon made this comment. He was like, I don't care about making money at all. He was trying to portray this like, this is just a free speech play. I mean, at this point, that is so obviously absurd and ridiculous. And you took on a lot of debt to be able to close this deal. You have responsibility to like pay back your lenders and whatever. So it's not like you can make this some sort of nonprofit play unless you're willing to pony up like your own net worth in order to backstop the whole thing, which obviously he's not since he took on all this debt. So the level of, like you said, chaos, erratic decision-making, just all over the place. Of course, advertisers are going to be like, yeah, we're going to wait. We've got a lot of other places that we can spend our dollars, and we're going to see how this all shakes out to decide whether we're ever coming back.
And the secondary part, too, which is that, let's put this up there, which is that he's really trying to have it all both ways. He says Twitter's strong commitment to content moderation remains unchanged. In fact, we have seen hateful speech at times decline below our prior norms, contrary to what you may read in the press. I keep seeing this canard that Elon is putting out there, which I think he's just getting completely wrong. He keeps saying over and over again, our goal is for Twitter to be the most accurate source of information about the world. Here's the problem. You cannot, like, accurate to whom?
Right.
By what standard? Given what set of facts? That is the mindset which doomed Twitter in the first place. That's what led to fact-checking. That's what's sticking by the community notes feature, which I'm still totally against. Any sort of editorial judgment about tweets or not is ludicrous. And second, you know, this all just happened last night, but Elon now has a policy that verified accounts are going to be, quote, permanently suspended for impersonating. Now, many verified accounts like Kathy Griffin and others were like changing their name to Elon Musk. I'm not going to lie, it's actually confusing whenever you're on Twitter because you're like, oh, is that actually Elon or not? But here's the point. Now, again, you are picking and choosing what flies and what doesn't. So it's like old boss is the same as a new boss.
Yeah.
Like what's getting banned and what's not. The more that, quote, accurate information becomes the North Star and not just let people say whatever they want, as annoying as it is, then really you're just getting yourself into dangerous territory and you will fall into the same pitfalls that Jack Dorsey fell into, that the previous censorship regime did. And, you know, look, it's already ruined. It will ruin the experience for the users because with the fact checking and all that, you never know what is actually true. It diminishes trust in the platform, and it leads to all sorts of debates. And second, as we saw, it's not like it's helping you with your advertisers in the meantime.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
You mean even Jack Dorsey, of course, former CEO and founder of Twitter, he even replied, like, accurate to who? With regards to this should be the most accurate platform on the planet.
Yes.
That dude, 50 Shades of Way, tweeted, free speech absolutist Elon Musk went from comedy is now legal to banning Kathy Griffin in less than 10 days.
Right.
Totally fair. And also, I mean, he has a history of being very thin-skinned in terms of like how he runs his companies and whatever too. And this just strikes of, he didn't like people were making fun of him. So he went also from saying no more permanent bans to we're permanently banning you for basically making fun of me. It's, again, incredibly erratic, really reveals a lot about the fact that, number one, I mean, I've always been annoyed talking about the Elon story because there's this whole idea among conservatives, among liberals of like the good billionaires versus the bad billionaires, when what you really see here is the reason these platforms are the way they are is because of the business incentives. And that was so clear instantly when Elon Musk takes over and the first thing he does effectively is like write his letter to advertisers like, please, please stay around. There is a business model here that if we want to get away from, you're gonna have to do something really different. It's gonna have to come from the government. There is no billionaire out there who's gonna be better, who's gonna ultimately rescue it. And I also think that it takes some of the luster off of the mythology of Elon Musk as well, where it's like, he was really seen as the sort of global genius and this like incredible businessman and savvy, and he's working on a level we can't even understand. And then you see these moves that are just scattershot all over the place, just throwing everything against the wall, and it's kind of a mask-off moment in terms of his real capability.
I will say, so I'll defend him on this count, which is that having read the history of Tesla and SpaceX, they were a complete shit show until they weren't shit show. So like SpaceX nearly failed and went bankrupt many times in 2006. They had like there's actually a video, people should go watch it, of him with basically used all of the last money on this last launch. He's like, if this is it, the company is dead. And everybody, anyway, it ended up working. Tesla too, I mean, it was a nightmare, and that's why short sellers were against the stock for almost a decade, basically, up until now. So I think a man can still turn around. Every single one of his companies has been typified by chaos, but not inspiring moves.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.